Ladies and gentlemen, Kim here. Welcome to the daily update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is up slightly, about 0.4% on the S&P, and around same, about 0.4, 0.5, 0.6 across the board. All the indices today, they were up more. I think at one point they were about 1.2%. You can see we fell back towards last couple hours here. It looks like we're back at the level where we gapped up this morning. So let's try to figure out what we can expect going into tomorrow and possibly remainder of this week. So it looks like this is where it closed yesterday, and we gapped up slightly here. And so this was a first hour, and then a second hour we held that gap, right? We held that gap area here. And also you can see my midterm moving average is acting as support, coinciding with the gap area that it gapped up this morning. And then second hour we held. Third hour we pushed higher. Fourth hour we continued higher. Fifth hour we were not able to hold above my short-term moving average there. I was tweeting things out pretty much several times today with the oscillator and things like that. And then once that short-term moving average was not able to hold, we saw another decline. So we pretty much kind of went up, came back down, stayed where we came back to where we opened up this morning. So pretty much that move was from the gap up this morning. So I know we kind of talked about this yesterday, right? Let's zoom out and kind of look at the overall picture here. We talked about the fact that in the short term of things, that we are in the overall short-term lower high, lower low zone. So, we talked about how yesterday, we came down to the, important support area. We're probably going to bounce or something like that. And then if we do see a bounce, that I wouldn't be surprised this thing coming back down. Again, why? Because we are still in that short-term downtrend zone here, right, with the lower highs and lower lows. And there are a few good things that happened this morning for the buyers. First, we did see that gap up, and that's, that held, and so that's a good thing going into tomorrow. Only bad thing about this gap is that if the bears were to gap it down, this will turn into an island top, and things could get ugly. Let's actually move out a little more and kind of look at that. Let's understand the big picture here, bigger picture actually, more of a midterm picture. And this is kind of the level that we've been talking about last several days here, including the weekend video. But you can see this is the important level. I'll give it like this much here. This entire level right here that I just put a rectangle there, this entire level is very, very important. Pivot, right? This is important support level, 340 and 337-ish level, right? Keep in mind, in the short term, we're in a downtrend, right? We got these lower highs and lower lows in the short term. But in the big picture, in the midterm, we have the higher high and higher low. So that's something we have to understand, is that in the short term, we're in a downtrend. In the midterm, we're on an uptrend. Okay, what we don't understand is that, we don't know where that higher low is going to be. Is it going to be here? Is this that higher low before this thing getting up to the all-time highs? Or is the market in store for much further decline to potentially 337? My long-term moving average is residing at 338 currently. We got this support that hasn't been, or that gap and support hasn't been filled. And so that's the question. That's what we're trying to figure out, right? We know that market already cultivated higher high in the midterm, right? And so we just need to see higher low. And we're trying to figure out if that higher low is going to be here in this vicinity at 340, 343, or is it going to maybe have it another leg lower, potentially retest my long-term moving average, that pink moving average there, and then possibly that being that higher low. See, we don't know that. And so right now, I think as far as the sentiment is concerned, we still have to give it bearish sentiment in the short term, again, because we have short-term downtrend cultivation currently in the last couple of weeks here. Not a couple of weeks, about a week or so, week and a half. In the midterm, we want to stay bullish, right? But I'm going to give it kind of like neutral to bullish, just for the fact that we're seeing some selling pressure here from the bears in the short term. So I don't want to give it bearish, obviously, in the midterm, knowing that my midterm moving average is still rising, and we still do have that higher high and higher lows happening here. So kind of on that neutral to bullish sentiment of midterm. Long term, obviously bullish, looking back all the way from the March lows. So let's check out that oscillator and see if we can get a little bit more clear idea what we can expect going into tomorrow. So what we can see here with the oscillator is that we do have what it looks like a bullish divergence. And, we've seen these pattern happening before since the March lows, and they usually been on the money. So what happens is we see that, lower lows on the price action here. That's definitely a lower low, right? And then oscillator, and this is a kind of a slight higher high. It would have been much, much stronger if, let's say, the oscillator started curling up here. If we saw something like that, and that angle of these two, right? Price lower low, oscillator higher low. That would have been much, much bullish signal. It's just that we did have that pretty definitive higher lower low here. The oscillator, it's a slightly high. It's almost flat. It's slightly high, so it has certain properties of bullishness, and we did see a cross with the slight bullish divergence effect there happening, and the gap is currently holding. So what bears want to do is bears don't want this to play out. Bears don't want buyers to fizzle around above 340 to 341. If buyers hang around here long enough, what's going to happen is this thing is going to continue to go higher, and we may see a momentum to the upside. So what bears need to do, bears need to continue to pressure to the downside and continue to cultivate lower highs and lower lows. We have that gap here, as you can see, this gap that opened from this morning. Either that needs to be filled right away, or if you want to really speed things up to the downside, turn this into an island top by gapping it down tomorrow morning. And that's not a big gap down, maybe like 0.4%, 0.5% gap down below 342 or 341.70, 341.80. Gap it down and make new low. That's what bears want to see. If we do see price gapping it down and continuing to further down to the downside, making lower low on the price, you're probably going to see this oscillator kind of curl back down and, pretty much, negating, right, neutralizing, nullifying the potential bullish divergence there. That's what bears want to work on. Bulls can trying to make this work because we are finding support, important pivot, and we got a little bit of gap that is holding here, and then midterm moving average is acting as support. Despite the fact that we do have a lower highs and lower lows, what bulls need to do, if this is a neckline, needs to get up, get above that this resistance, and then you see that falling resistance, you need to get above both of those and then pull back, cultivate higher low, and then thrive, and that will get us to 360. So it's going to take more than a day or two, so we'll probably have to see how this market is going to play out remainder of this week. Tomorrow will be important because we want to see if this bullish divergence is actually going to play out. We do have the oscillator just crossed to the upside, so that gives just a little bit more bullish sentiment going into tomorrow morning. So for bears to kind of dismantle that little bit of bullish pressure, bears want to gap it down. But if we see another gap up or another couple of hours of bullishness tomorrow morning, that is going to make this oscillator continue higher, and we may see buyers trying to find some momentum here. So tomorrow morning, tweet things out if I see anything. I'll come back for you guys tomorrow night. We'll re-examine the situation and we'll go from there. Enjoy your evening. Good luck trading tomorrow.